Good to go. Okay, so everyone, I know you're here because we're approaching a new and exciting world of documentation coming up with 96 boards and everything that has to do with how you use them. Right, so who am I? My name is Robert Wolff. I'm an engineer and I focus mainly on the technical writing for 96 boards, team at Linaro. There you can get my Twitter, so everyone feel free to add me. What have I done since kind of been working in this space? So I developed an IoT specialization on the DragonBoard 410C. This, at this point, can almost be cross-platformed across all the 96 boards. You can go follow it, Coursera.org, and then search for IoT specialization, DragonBoard. You can follow that. I also manage the 96 boards and Linaro documentation repositories, and I run the open hours every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. British Standard Time. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to talk about how documentation has been kind of right now. And then we're going to go into analyzing the old ways of doing things. We're going to take a look at that and create a new approach. Then we're going to look at the contribution cycle, I guess, so kind of taking the new approach and how did we come to this point and how can we fix it. We're going to rethink it, and then I'm going to give you the process as to how you can join 96 boards with documentation, modify documentation, and expand on everything we've already created so far. All right, so talking about current documentation. When you go out into the web and you're looking for something that has to do with 96 boards, when you are trying to, I don't know, use a 96 boards, you find all these different types of documents. And we have PDFs, which are generally static documents, wiki pages, which, board-specific wiki pages. You can go to LeMaker, you can go to Qualcomm, you can go to wherever. You have these board-specific wikis that they've thrown up there. You have Linaro wiki pages and so on. And then hopefully you've noticed that the GitHub documentation repositories have started to grow. And this is good because this is kind of where we're going with all of this. And these are kind of everywhere, right? So you don't know what you're going to run into. The initial thoughts with current documentation. When you go and you search for these things that I'm telling you about, you notice that the documents are scattered. They're repeated. They're out of date in a lot of cases, and they're inconsistent. And then when you want to change one of those four things, well, you can't even find the owner. So in most cases, you make your own document, right? And we'll talk about that in a second. How do we fix this? Well, we take scattered documents and we consolidate them. We extract the good information and we put them in a new place and let everybody know that it's there. Repeated information, well, we remove it if it's possible, but we don't want to get rid of all the links, so sometimes we'll have to forward that. Out-of-dated information, we want to maintain that. So we want to make sure that these documents, if they start going out of date, that we have a community around them that care, and they are interested in making sure that everyone benefits from these. Inconsistent documents, well, if you get used to doing things a certain way, it's just human nature. You want to keep doing them that way, and that's absolutely fine. So we want to make sure that you are comfortable moving between the 96 boards. So we want to make a template and make sure things are consistent. And when all of this starts to fall into place, we want to make sure that people own the documents. So this will be the responsibility of 96 boards to make sure that we are aware of who is in charge of certain documents. So essentially, we're going to organize, structure, and set conventions for 96 boards documentation. All right. Now, going into the old ways of doing things, I talked about kind of what's wrong with everything. So how can we create a new approach unless we analyze the old approach? All right. So this is originally, right now, how things are done. We ask a board maker, a manufacturer, chip maker, we ask them when they want to make a 96 boards, we say, hey, we want you to give us these documents. And they're all in PDF form, and there's nothing wrong with PDF when you look at some of these, right? So you have the SOC, Programmer's Technical Reference Manual. I mean, that's not going to change, most likely. I doubt it. So we're fine with a PDF with that. Hardware User Manual, most likely won't change, but what if they push out a PDF with a bunch of typos and then something they want to add later? Well, things get a little difficult, right? So we want to ask these questions. What happens when a user wants more? and they're looking at these documents. What happens when something needs to be changed? And this is how you approach the community. Well, a lot of times when you go see one of these PDFs and you want to fix this, you ask yourself these questions. The user then says, well, I can't change it, so I'm just going to make a new document because this is the way for me to contribute, and I want to be a part of this, so I'm going to create a new document. Then I'm going to throw it anywhere on the internet because I don't really care. Oh, I got used to it, but I mean, hopefully someone finds it. Then they're not going to tell anyone about it, and then they're never going to update it. So you just have a bunch of documents floating around there. That's me. All right. So the same thing can be said of what happens when you want to change a doc, right? So we looked at what happens when you want to create a new doc, what happens when you want to change a doc, and you do the exact same thing. All right, so taking that into account, we want to analyze this and try to look at a new approach. So we want to reduce static documentation, and in fact, the keynote yesterday with the Intel speaker, it was surprising because I wrote this months ago, and all of a sudden he's talking about the same thing, basically, essentially moving all static documentation. Who wants to print stuff anymore? Most people don't. So moving static documentation to dynamic documentation, reducing it and increasing. We want to allow vendors, manufacturers, community, we want to encourage ownership and contribution, and we want to reduce points of contact. Every time I have to send out an email, every time someone else has to send out an email, that's time wasted. That's money. So now when we look at it this way and we ask the exact same two questions, what happens when a user wants more? What happens when a user needs something to be changed? Well, they can take it on themselves, right? And they can actually keep it all in one place instead of throwing all this junk out into the internet that no one really knows about. So we're going to look at the contribution cycle. The contribution cycle is kind of something that I would be interested to see if anyone argues on this, but I came up with this. You have a community, and they all want to consume your product, and they want to know how to use it. Well, the community grabs your static document, and they find a mistake. So an error is in your static document. They're like, well, what am I going to do? I want to fix this. So they report it to 96Boards because 96Boards is on the board. We're kind of frontline with everyone, and they report it to us. Well, then we say, hey, it's a static document. We don't even own the raw file for that. That belongs to the person who made the board. Well, so we're going to report it to the document owner, and the owner is then going to say, okay, great. Well, what's the problem? This is all time, wasted time. But finally, they figure it out and they fix their raw document. Hopefully, they're well organized, so they didn't waste a lot of time. They put out a new version. They upload it to their cloud or wherever they're storing it, and then they inform 96Boards and they inform the community if we're lucky. Well, I mean, what if I told you that we could eliminate all those steps and just kind of go from the community finding a mistake right to them uploading it themselves? And this is kind of where we're going with this, and we want to rethink the cycle. Rethink this cycle of wasted time and efforts that allows the community to take part in fixing things and basically for the better. So now we look at the same cycle. The community finds a dynamic document, say on GitHub, which is where I'm leading to, but they find a dynamic document and they find an error. They're using a dynamic document, they find an error. Well, now they have two choices. They can either take it on themselves, fix this document, and then upload it with 96Boards, of course, as a buffer, right? It's our repository. We want to make sure that the right message is getting across, and we also want to make sure that no one's putting, nonsense on the document. So we'll make sure that that happens. But the other option that the community could have, and when I refer to community, I refer to everyone. I refer to the vendors, manufacturers, anyone is in the community who wants to help. They could also report it to 96Boards, and we would be glad to fix it ourselves if we deem it necessary, and we'll upload it, right? So this process allows us to all kind of share the load, and that's what it's all about. I mean, this is open source, right? So it is what it's all about. And I mean, I got Mark's here in the audience. I'm going to quote him what he told me one time on open hours, but it's human nature to think that for someone to win, someone has to lose. But that's not always true. And in the open source community, if someone wins, everyone wins. And that's where we're trying to get at with creating documents that everyone can win with. All right, so Rethinking the Cycle, we're looking at quick, easy document modifications, straightforward document creation. We want it to be community-driven, so there's a sense of ownership. 96 boards maintained and website rendered. Yes, so I did not mention that this is website rendered. Very nice, because now what happens is as a vendor or a manufacturer of a 96 board, you can have direct control over the 96boards.org website. Our documentation is rendered from the GitHub straight up into the website, which means that if you find something that you deem wrong or, I don't know, just whatever you might want to change, well, we can discuss it and you can submit a pull request, you can fix your document, change our documents, it goes right to the website. So this is a very nice feature that our webmaster has been working on, and it's slowly getting better and better with the website rendering. All right, what will we do? 96 boards will buffer. I call it buffer, but essentially we're serving as the maintainer. So anything that the community submits, we will make sure that it's good, push it through. When these things happen, we'll share it with the community. We have the ability to write blogs, post online, open hours, all sorts of different ways that we can get the message out that new content is available. With this, we'll have more time to contribute, and we will expand on everything we already have, keep the maintenance up. We will need help from Linaro, of course, because 96 boards is Linaro. Vendors, manufacturers, community, and anyone who is interested in helping with this movement. All right, so the process. Now, this is kind of up in the air because it depends on what type of 96 boards user you are, but this is still pretty generalized. You have 96 boards, and within 96 boards, you have multiple types of boards. Consumer, enterprise, and now IoT edition. Well, these continue to branch out, and you find even yourself with more boards. I guess like more, I call it the fourth dimension, right? So here you go, you have all these boards, but what happens when you want to switch between consumer edition boards and IoT boards, or enterprise edition and CE boards? Well, a lot of times you find yourself confused with who wrote the documentation, how things look. I don't know, just sometimes it's at least me at least. But our goal is to make sure that this remains consistent across all the boards. So because we have control over these repositories and this documentation, we can make it very consistent and easy on the eyes. So you don't waste time on ramping up with everything that you're trying to do. All right, so as a new board member, as someone who wants to join the 96 boards community, we offer you a landing page with core material. So this is kind of us trying to make sure that your ramp up period is minimal. We will give you the core material, we will give you the setup, we will teach you how to use it, we will give you templates and instructions, and then with this, of course, comes the support of the community. So you want to join 96 boards, you talk to us, and we will make sure that it is seamless and easy. What are we using to get this done? GitHub, and you can go to github.com/96boards/documentation. I'm going to show a little thing on the screen right now just to give you a glimpse. You can see the process that we're doing, I guess, essentially. But we will be using Git for command line pushes, using Markdown, restructured text for certain documents so that you can render them into PDF if you desire. Downloadable PDFs are still welcome. So we're not trying to stay away from, like I said earlier, from static documentation completely, but you never know, certain things are still okay. We will be hosting images, and we will share all 96 boards generic docs on GitHub. All right, so this comes to the conclusion, and in conclusion, we aim to provide dynamic, streamlined, consistent, well-maintained, and robust documents created by everyone. 96 boards, Linaro, vendors, manufacturers, community, you, everyone. All right. So, real quick before I end this, because this is the end, I have these links here, so anyone online can kind of see what I was talking about, can look at those. But I want to switch to, let's see if I have this here. This is what our landing page looks like currently on GitHub. And you can see that you have pretty simple format. you can still edit this yourself. Anyone can go on here and edit it. And as I mentioned, this does self-render. So you can see the page here. The exact same thing. Right here, we're on GitHub, Documents, README. The exact same thing is on our website. So right here, you're on 96boards.org/documentation. Giving you the control of everything. Sorry. So you're talking about searching on Google? So from the website, actually, if you scroll down, view edit this page on GitHub. So it'll take you right there, and then you can, if I click it, and there you are, you're ready to edit. So he asked, how easy is it to find the Git trees from where we were just at on the website, and that's what happened. When they click that, no, it will show up as a pull request if they fork it, edit it, and push it. Yes. So essentially, if you want to make edits to the documents, what you would have to do is you would fork the repository, the documentation repository. You would make your edits, and this is what I was kind of talking about GitHub. There is a slight learning curve. You have to learn how to use GitHub. You have to learn how to use Git, and you know, submit pull requests. But these tutorials are out there. They exist. It's fine. So and again, we're also here to answer those questions, right? So we've created lots of channels for anyone who wants to get into this and start helping and contributing to the documentation, making it easy for them. And that is my presentation. So I hope you liked it. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your Connect time in Vegas.